Patch 6.3 arrives in Warhammer 3, here's a bunch of the new stuff.
1.
The Tomb Kings finally got some love. It's not a full rework or anything, just a bit of a tune-up. First of all, they can now confederate, at least to a limited degree. Here's who can confederate who. Basically, it's Hetep and Khalida that can be confederated. Archon and Cetra can't be, but you don't confederate them in the usual diplomatic way. You either use the Mortuary Cult, or, much like the Greenskins or Norskins, if you beat said legendary lord in battle, you'll confederate them that way. So this is cool, this is mostly good, although some of them are a little bit pointless because, you know, Archon's over here, Cetra's over here, Khalida's over here, Hetep is all the way on the other side of the world though. Now Khalida, she can actually confederate Hetep by beating him in battle, but she's got to travel halfway across the world to even get near him, so feels like some of these might be a little bit pointless, but nice to have some options for confederation there anyway. Canopic jars have also had some changes. They're now a little bit easier to acquire, perhaps because you can get them from battles. And you'll have some new things to spend them on, such as banners here in the Mortuary Cult. As you can see, some of these allow you some pretty nice banners for Armor Sundering, Stalk, Perfect Vigor, one of my favorites. And I'm going to assume they're used for confederations as well. There's supposed to be a tab in this Mortuary Cult for that, I think, but it's bugged out in this build. It's not in here, but I'm sure it'll be fine for release tomorrow. There's also these new diggities, the Nehekaran Decrees. This is another place you can dump some jars if you've got an excess. This one will give you extra control, research rate, and will get rid of corruption. That's Scholarly Purity. And then you've got Heed the Will. This is basically trading your jars in for hard cash. And then the most exciting one, Rightful Reclamation. This allows your garrison in a settlement to sally out and attack nearby enemy armies up to 1,000 range. So that's the same mechanic as the Ottomans for Kislev. Same thing here for Tomb Kings. Very nice. Good to see that getting some more love. It is a nice little mechanic. The Books of Nagash have been updated. Now this is the old version I'm showing you here just to show you how spread out they were and what the rewards were. Not that great. For example, this one, farthest away from most factions. You get a measly 250 jars, Lord rank +3, -1 wound recovery time. Really not worth it to travel all the way up above Ulthuan to get that for most of the factions. Now they're like this, more of them gathered around the desert, so much easier to acquire, and the rewards have been improved, so a bit more worth your time to go and get them. There is still one over in Lustria and one above Ulthuan there, but the rewards are much better. So if you go all the way up there above Ulthuan, you'll get +1 army capacity, a bunch of unit capacity, and this new thing, June Restoration. This is basically the same thing as what the Chaos Demons have. If they die in battle, they have a percentage chance to come back at the end of the battle. This is that same thing for Tomb King's constructs. So if you lose any in battle, there's a chance to get them back, and the more of these books you get, the more of a chance you're going to have, as it's going to stack. So that's a nice buff for constructs in general. So overall, the Books of Nagash looking easier to get and more worthwhile. The Tomb King's tech tree mostly operates the same with the dynasties. It's been a little spruced up, of course. There's a little bit less hurt on your research rate and some improvements to unit caps, but hopefully overall it's just made a bit more appropriate for Warhammer 3. The same with Legendary Lord skill points. These are mostly the same, but a few jigged about, a few buffed up, no doubt. I don't have the patch notes to know entirely what's changed, but you can see a few little differences here and there. So yeah, Lord and Hero skill points have been touched up, although shout out to the guy who did the Tomb Prince, as he's given him a -10 upkeep reduction for chariots. Really helpful for a faction that doesn't have upkeep. The Pyramid landmarks have also had a little bit of love as well, gaining some unique traits across all of those. So they should have a little bit more usefulness and reason to be built, and reasons to go after those settlements. And that's mostly it for the Tomb Kings. Overall, feels like a nice little upgrade for them to make them a little more in line with Warhammer 3. Sadly though, one thing that didn't seem to get touched was the lore of Nehekara. Notoriously, probably one of the most boring lore books. It's not necessarily bad, but it's just mostly buffs and debuffs, so nothing really exciting to look at other than one Vortex spell. But I guess maybe that's more of a Games Workshop thing.
2.
The Lizardmen also got a bit of a love. The Lizardmen also got some love. Again, not a full rework, just a bit of a tune-up. Firstly, Blessed Spawnings have had some changes, as well as some new Blessed Spawn units. They've got this new thing called Spawning Sequence, which you need to be able to recruit Blessed units. They can be gained through missions and such, and the Blessed Spawnings will be available all the time. Now, I know what you're saying, but Uncle Zerk, what are these new units? Well, I'm going to tell you, little Timmy, calm down. We've got Blessed Chameleon Skinks. These have a big missile attack, about 100 more damage than the regular version. They also have generally better stats, a bonus versus infantry, and are unspottable. Then we've got Blessed Skink Cohort Javelins. These are basically the same, but they've got Armor Sundering and Armor Piercing on their javelins, whereas normally they just have poison. Blessed Ripidactyl Riders. These have a little more armor and melee attack, but most notably, Devastating Flanker. Blessed Sacred Croxagors. These have what I think is a new ability, 360 missile block, which means obviously that they'll block missiles from all directions, whereas normally it's like a 90-degree cone in front of the unit. So this has some extra protection. With that comes a silver shield, so they'll block 55% of all missiles from any direction, and they've got 40 extra armor, so 140. Beefy. Blessed Pterodon Riders now, they come with the blinded ability on their melee attack, so they'll reduce melee attack, melee defense, so they'll overall survive a bit better in melee. They also have a bonus versus infantry and are a bit faster than regular Pterodons. Then there's Blessed Razordon Hunting Pack. These are virtually the same, but they have Stalk, Snipe, and Melee Damage Reflection, so they'll be able to be a little bit more sneaky than the normal version and give back some pretty nice damage in melee. And then there's Blessed Salamander Hunting Pack. These ones, again, mostly the same, except their missile is, instead of being anti-large, it's anti-infantry. So bigger explosions, more damage to infantry. Nice. And then the Blessed Ancient Salamander. This thing, virtually the same. It has the flammable trait as the normal version does, but it also has this Aura of Immolation, which is another 20% to an area, so that's 40% weakness to fire it could inflict. Team that up with some of your fire-causing units, and that's gonna get nasty. And lastly, the Blessed Ancient Stegodon. This thing, again, basically the same as the normal one, but instead of being anti-infantry, it's anti-large. So good for taking on the monsters, cavalry, and single entities. And it also has a contact effect on its missile attack, which does direct damage on whatever it hits. Also, very nice. So that's all the new Blessed units. The Lizardmen economy has had a bit of a boost as well, with some improvements to income buildings. There's also a new tech tree, which is probably a lot of the same stuff, just a little bit jigged around, a little bit buffed up for Warhammer 3 perhaps, and presented much more nicely in this 2-tab format rather than just the big block that it used to be. No more building requirements as well. And of course, much like the Tomb Kings, Lords and Heroes got a bit of a pass as well, got some upgrades. Mazdamundi now starts with Soul Quench, for example. And then it's just a few smaller details like big dinos now having the wall breaker ability, so they can bash down walls in sieges. Very handy to use, especially if the ass ladders go away in coming updates. Also changes to faction tinting, so the colors of some of the units like these Saurus Warriors, these are the normal Mazdamundi ones, but then there's these ones, these are the Krokgar Last Defenders ones. So colors a little more prominent than they were before. And then here's Cult of Sotek, kind of goldy, kind of black and red, pretty cool. And then this is Itza, kind of greeny, yellow and white. Nice bit of differentiation between the faction colors. So a pretty basic update for the Lizardmen, but a few nice changes there to bring them up to speed more with Warhammer 3 than their kind of old Warhammer 2-iness.
3.
Unusual locations, you know, those things that randomly appear in settlements from time to time. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Well, there's 20 new ones, which may appear in your campaign at any moment. What they do, I have no idea for most of them, but there are a few I do know. Some of us creators got one unique one each to show off. I got the Unstable Chaos Portal. What this does is give chaos corruption to the region, but plus 100% income. But there's a 20% chance it'll raise any other region in the province, and when it does, I'll get even more income. So everything in the province except the settlement where the portal is going to be raised. There's going to be chaos corruption everywhere, but you'll have 5 grand coming in if you get it in Altdorf anyway, because the bonuses from this unusual location are giving plus 400% to my income. In the last phase, it also gives 20% chance to raise a random settlement somewhere in the world. Not really much use to that, but funny, I guess, until it happens to you. A couple of other ones. Lawmaster of Sotek got Crimson Skull Chambers. This gives you corn corruption in your region, but when you declare war on people, it all goes away. You will get some damage bonuses as well, but in that grayed out bit you can see there, when you reach 100 corn corruption in your region, you will instantly declare war on 10 random factions. That is going to get pretty wild pretty quickly. And then there's the Abandoned Forge of Hashut as Mercy the Mad got, giving you a chance to get a rare item when you fuse a couple, diplomatic relations with Chaos Dwarfs, armor for your units in the region, and a Kadai Destroyer in the garrison. Very nice, but you have to put up with some chaos corruption. And one more that Battlesea got, the Ogre Mercenary Camp. This gives you some ogre-centric buffs with also a little bit of replenishment, a little bit of extra melee defense on units recruited in that region, ogre garrison units as well, but you're going to lose some income and growth. So some nice unusual location additions. I do like these. I think they do spruce campaigns up when you get this random little thing come and happen to you. 20 more of them. Some new experiences and challenges to be had.
4.
There's some new voiceover work being done. Throg has a completely new voice. Wulfric has some additional lines, but still the same voice. To show you Throg first of all, let's play the old version of Throg's voice on this quest battle intro, and then I'll play the new one directly afterwards.
Biggie man over there has my crown. Stunty runt dare steal from me! Doesn't the stupid little man know he steals from royalty? When I catch him, I'm taking my crown back, and he'll be the first royal meal for the new king of the world! Me! Monsters and madmen all! Let's have their guts for lunch! No doubt this dwarf presumed to steal from a witless beast, but he shall learn. Oh yes, he shall learn the cost of such ignorance. Answer this insult with death. Show him the ravenous hunger of the monstrous horde. I want to watch the regret in his eyes as we tear him limb from limb.
So Throg overall sounding a little more intelligent, which I think is the idea, right? Throg's supposed to be a clever troll boy. Here's some other random lines.
Bringer of darkness and ice, Throg, lord of the monstrous horde. I hunger, one of a kind, vision and purpose, entertainment.
And then here's some Wulfric lines. I think these are all new. It's hard to remember all his old lines, but they're still in there. He's just had these new ones added in.
Remove the head of the snake! Hear my taunts! Fall! Fall! You are dead! You are mine! I'll take your head!
So yeah, sounding great. Very nice to see those two getting some love ahead of the DLC coming soon. But it's not just those two getting new voices, as Alberic de Bordelot has finally got himself an actual unique voice. Before, he just had the generic Lord voice. So here it is.
Alberic de Bordelot, my body, heart, and soul, for the lady. I swear to seek the Grail. May the lady grant me the strength. Today, Bretonia rejoices, for we are her shield. Hand of judgment, my wrath knows no bounds.
So a nice one for all you French enjoyers, and cool to see a long-time legendary lord finally get an actual voice. Nice character, quality of life improvements, all the same.
5.
And lastly, as usual, a bunch of random smaller things all rolled into one. The Greenskins heroes got some updates to their skills because they didn't get them with the previous DLC, the Omens of Destruction, so a bunch of new and hopefully more useful stuff for the heroes. There's a new camera option to allow blood to spatter all over your camera when you're close down to the action. This was a thing in Pharaoh and they brought it over here, so if you want to feel like you're really in the thick of it, getting blood all over your face, this one's for you. They've also updated a lot of the basic traits that lords could gain. They've given a few examples. Here they look mostly the same, just with a few extra things added on or buffed up, like that first one. It goes from +3 leadership to +15, which is quite the jump. So this just makes these a little more useful, and is especially useful for non-legendary lords. When you recruit them, they tend to have one of these kind of traits, so these will be a bit more handy for those non-legendary lords. And that about does it. That's most of the big changes for patch 6.3. Let me know what you think down below. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, check out Patreon, check out YouTube memberships. Otherwise, I'll see you in the future.